All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
What's going on, Colts Nation? I'm Lawrence Owen. I am back. This is Colts Law. Guess who's with me? Yes, that's right. The guy, the star of the last two videos uploaded the last couple days. Loyalist, what's going on, my guy?
Oh, everything. That about sums my week up. Just everything's going. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, man. We haven't had a live stream since I think last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We've been posting videos left and right. By the way, great job on the videos. In my opinion, on what you sent me, all I had to do, ladies and gentlemen, was do a little bit of edits here and there, threw in some pictures and some video clips that I had researched, and brought up and added in there. I thought the videos and the stories of these two guys were great. You're working on the Bernard Ryman one right now, from what I understand.
Yeah, if his story wasn't so darn epic, I'd be able to get it to you a little sooner, but I'm trying to make it so I don't put everybody to sleep. I've seen some comments that says I have a soothing voice, so I figure I got about a 15-minute window before I put people to sleep. So I gotta keep it good and short but the young man's got a great story. I can't wait to talk about it.
Absolutely. I want to shout out Brandon Wood, John Davis, Mr. J567, and Wyatt in here. Thank you all so much. Please, before we get started, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live or upload a video, which we're trying to do on a daily basis, either go live or upload something, whether it's, for Colts Law between me and Chuck here, Chuck, or with Believe in Colts and me and Gerard Powers. So we got a lot of great things going on right now. Not as much that you would think about to talk about. There is some things that we can talk about, but first and foremost, I was thinking, in the back of my head, my goodness, the only thing that I've been talking about this for months now, the thing that's going to hold the Colts back is the thing that's held the Colts back the last few years, and that's injuries, right? All these injuries that the Colts seem to have during, training camp, preseason, beginning of season, throughout the season. It's just been a plethora, and a lot of them have to do with your lower leg and foot and stuff like that, at least last year. Then, of course, you got your ACL, MCL, PCL tears. And as I was posting this to Twitter to share, to say, I happened to see Nate Adkins from the Indy Star post and talk about his thing, where last I knew, something to do, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, that injuries was something that NFL teams could scout. Like they're doing a 40 time, scouting a 40 time or bench press or something, or ball skills. And that even though the NFL hasn't been able to do that in the entire time that it's been the NFL, I swear to you, it had nothing to do with Nate's post there for his podcast that he was talking about from the Indy Star, but we are going to discuss a little bit of that today. And then I'll obviously get into the comments here on the channel. Real quick, want to shout out, obviously, we got Brian Walton, my bad. Brian Walton, last time we went live, dropped $10 in the super chat, said great show, Law. Appreciate you. If you want to join him and help donate to the channel, feel free. You can use the link right here in the description of the video right at the top, and pretty much post any question or comment, guaranteed to come up if you get it in while we're still streaming live. So how big of a concern is the history of injuries with the Colts to you, Loyalist, going into this year?
Well, real quick, I just want to tell Nate, I don't think because in the NFL, it's not if they get hurt, it's when they get hurt. You know what I mean? So I think instead of scouting, their injury stuff, we just need to see how strong the Wolverine gene is in them, as far as how quick they can heal and get back on the field. That would probably be something to study more. But as far as with the Colts and stuff, I understand. You look at Paris Campbell, you look at Julian Blackmon, these young men that, the Colts have high hopes for. But to your point, the injury history and stuff has just been unfair, to say the least, these guys and a couple other players. But the thing is I'm hoping that this OTA and getting back to this slow, gradual build up and stuff, hopefully it'll reduce on some of the soft tissue injuries and stuff. You know what I mean? Just because, like over the last couple of years with all the protocol and the limited sessions and stuff, it was basically 0 to 60, you know what I mean? Real early in the season and stuff. Now, that's not going to affect the wandering bones that decide to protrude after, a decade and a half or whatever. But as far as just the soft tissue injury and stuff, I'm really hoping that some of that will lessen this year, just because of the gradual ramp up and stuff.
Yeah. Now I've been on, point. I've been on record, I should say, for over a year now, of stating that certain colleges, players come out of those colleges ready to be injured. Okay. Like they're coming out of college, Ohio State, ready to be injured within their first couple seasons. Now, I don't know how much of a coincidence that is, or if maybe Ohio State's training program, their health and stuff like that training, is it preparing these guys for the rigors of the NFL? But when you're already in the NFL and you've been here a year or two, there should be a point where your body is gotten used to the rigors that it's going to go through. You should have some kind of a training regimen already built in to where these kind of things ain't going to happen, that you're not going to fake a blitz, drop back into coverage, even though you're a defensive lineman, get an interception, then tear an ACL. It's just not something that should happen on a constant basis. You shouldn't have every offensive lineman you have a foot injury inside a month of each other. Okay. You should not have that happen. And you could drop it on coincidence. You could drop it on a lot of stuff, but I just don't know how much of a concern it is legitimately for us fans going back and looking at this, because I think it is a lot to do with coincidence. Because it's not like, a lot of these injuries are on grass, during training camp. That Grand Park out in Westfield, that's grass, my guys. That's not artificial turf or anything like that. So, and that's where the majority of our injuries are happening. Are they not preparing themselves before training? Are the Colts ramping them up too fast, maybe, as an organization, preparing them too quickly, going into training camp out of OTAs, and not preparing their bodies properly?
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like I said, over the last couple years, because, of the reduced schedule, and we didn't have, the OTAs per se. It was more of a meet and greet, and then we'll see you, at full speed, and that's the thing. And people are sitting there saying that the training camp location is just, it's a beautiful park, guys. That's not the field. The field's immaculate. You go out there and I'm telling you guys right now, a lot of NFL teams would love to have that as their game field. So it's not the facilities. It is just really, I agree with you, Lawrence. I feel like a lot of it just has a lot to do with just misfortune, you know what I mean? And to your point with the Ohio State, I've been digging into the Bernard Ryman, and I've heard multiple times where guys are like, oh, this young man's good enough to play for Ohio State or something. I'm like, awesome. Good enough for playing for Ohio State, but didn't come from there. So we shouldn't have to worry about his injury history. You know what I mean? But honestly, guys, like I said, as fans, yeah, we fret over it and we worry about it. But I mean, really, these guys. I mean, you look at what Paris Campbell's gone through. Okay, a hand, a broken hand, a broken foot. You know, I mean, it's just this young man. You know, if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. But like I've told you guys, this year is going to be the year that he pulls it out. He got it all out of the way in the first 3 years. He knew that year 4 was going to be the important year for him. So now he's going to come out and he's just going to light the skies up this year for the Colts.
Well, we all hope so.
Yes, sir.
You know, I was hoping the same thing for a certain defensive end in his 4th year with the Colts. And when he was on the field, he was lighting it up. He didn't have the injury history. You know, he only missed like 3 games the entire year with Kimoko Toure. He just didn't get on the field because a certain defensive line coach was like, oh, we're going to keep our best guys on there 24/7. We don't need these backups back there. But I have no doubt that Reich and Brady will use Campbell, right? I mean, he's too big of a weapon not to, right? So, but still, it worries the heck out of me. Yeah, I saw that earlier. I posted it while you were talking. It's
pretty funny. Yeah, I see it now. I was like, I got to put that one.
Yeah, that's pretty funny by Mr. J567. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm hoping that certain like entire position groups don't get decimated the way the Colts had the last couple years, right? We had wide receiver group a couple years ago where the whole daggone position group was decimated, right? Last year, our offensive line, the whole offensive line, even a lot of the backups, right? Like Danny Pinter was out there in a boot for a long time. Guys, just the whole darn position group was hurt at points. You know, poor Big Q. That man not only followed in the footsteps of Carson Wentz. Yes, that was a horrible pun. But then, of course, you know, as you know, he's been dealing with this back problem that he's had since his rookie season, right? And he's just not been able to get over it. So there's a lot of stuff that, you know, that the Colts go through, and it happens on an entire, it's almost like it's contagious, right? Like once 1 or 2 people of that position group have it, everybody gets it, right? It's horrible. And we really hope that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of, you know, having these guys go, oh, that looks interesting. Let me try that, you know, and then all of a sudden I got to have a bone removed, coach, you know, like you said. So, but the thing is I really feel like when you look at this roster and look at what Chris Ballard did this year, we talked about it, you know, how he sort of plowed up the supporting cast and stuff. And I feel like that is all, you know, been elevated this year, you know. So now you look at, like you said, you look at the safeties, man. What was it, last year or the year before, where the safeties, we were hiring them off the street just to be able to put people on the field. You know, this year you sit there and look at that safety room, and it's very deep and it's very talented. I mean, you know, when you're looking at Rodney McLeod going, hey, this guy may not even make the starting lineup and stuff. I mean, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? There again, you look at the cornerbacks and stuff. I would argue that through experience, but also some of the acquisitions that the Ballard and the organization has brought in this year, there's a lot of quality depth, you know what I mean? And I know that people are a little concerned with the O-line, but if we can get, whether it's Pryor or Ryman, to step up at that starting left position, I really like the depth of our O-line, because, I mean, you look at all the interchangeable pieces, you know, you've got Fries, you've got Ryman, you've got Pryor, you know, depending on which one doesn't take the starting position. And then you got Pinter. Those are 3 really top level. I mean, I would argue could possibly be starting caliber players on other rosters. So I'm, like I said, I really like what Ballard did this year as far as improving the depth this year.
Oh yeah. And you know, to your point about, you know, last year, week 5 against the Ravens, we had 2 guys from our team in the secondary that were actually on the team, you know, the previous week. And the rest of the guys were either practice squad or out there, you know, flipping burgers or bagging groceries or something the week prior, you know, because we had that many injuries. not just in the cornerback, but at the safety position as well, right?
Yeah.
This year, as you say, Chris Ballard was just like, you know what? Injuries happen. As Shrayless here says, he says, you know, every team deals with injuries. Look at the Titans last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, Ballard's like, you know what? Okay, if they happen, they happen, but it's not going to put us in a bad spot. We're going to be ready for it, as you were talking about. You know, if we have three starters from one position go down, our fourth and fifth guy is going to be good enough to get the job done. You know, we're not going to have to worry about going, okay, we're just going to have you stand back like we did in the Ravens game in the fourth quarter because we didn't have anybody who knew jack or squat about the playbook. And, you know, just be like, all right, just try to keep everything in front of you.
Yeah, it'd be nice not to sit there and have to have that Christmas miracle like we did in Arizona last year, where the whole offensive line, it was, you know, I love whenever you interview these guys and they always say I need to prepare like a starter. Well, last year it was an absolute necessity, you know what I mean? Because like you said, you could go into Monday and Tuesday and think this is your starting lineup. And then by Thursday or Friday, you're like, okay, we've lost him, and him. Now what are we going to do?
Absolutely. So if you're on and I'm talking to everybody that is currently on the 90-man roster for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't care if you are the sixth running back on that list. All right. I don't care if you're the sixth. You prepare. If you make the practice squad, you prepare like you're going to start the next week. Because you never know. Knock on wood. We don't want that to happen. All right. But at the same time, you got to be prepared, right? Same with the wide receivers, cornerbacks, offensive linemen. Doesn't matter. Water boy. If the water boy pulls a hammy trying to get the water out there to Michael Pittman Jr. because he just ran for a touchdown, you got to be ready to get out there because that water is so important. All right. You got to keep them hydrated. All right.
Absolutely. Ask Alec Pierce.
Right. All right, guys. It's been about 17 minutes. We're into this. Appreciate each and every one of you. Again, please smash that like button. It helps with the analytics. We're going to get into a little bit of a few things. First off, you know what? Father's Day's coming up next month. Great way to get your father's stuff. Is he a Colts fan? Does he like the podcast? Do you like the podcast and just want to get yourself a Father's Day present? You don't have to be a dad. You don't have to be. Just go get it anyhow. You can use the link in the description. Make sure to check out the Colts Law merch shop. The link is in the description of this video. There are a ton of high quality, reasonably priced items there that you can choose from. And all you got to do is just click one button and you can go and check out all these great merchandise items. And here we are. So, Shrayless actually has another very important, like he says, you know, even if you're not the starter, every player needs to have the mindset of my time to shine every play of every week of every year. And that is an absolute fact. You know, you never know. Go look at a certain quarterback that played for the Cardinals and then the Rams, you know, who's now in the Hall of Fame. That man was bagging groceries and literally bagging groceries one week. And the next week he was the starting quarterback for a team going to the Super Bowl, which got him into the Hall of Fame. Okay. So you got to prepare. You got to prepare.
I mean, and that sort of like with the rookie breakfast and stuff, whenever they're talking to these guys, they're like, and I really feel like, you know, you hear it sometimes, you're like, oh, that's lip service. But I really believe that the Colts believe in this theory is we don't care where you were drafted. We don't care if you were drafted. You know, they told all of them, you know, you guys are all on a level playing field. And with this roster, as young as it is and as talented as it is, like they said, you know, you guys got to prepare like every day is your chance to start, because I would argue that there is a lot of competition for some of these starting spots, you know, left tackle, right guard, you know, I mean, you got Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith that are pretty locked in. But like you said, if Quentin has a flare up with his back, all of a sudden now you need to have that spot filled, you know, and then you look on the defensive side, you know, corners and safeties, you're always going to want to sit there and compete in battle. So like I said, these guys go in there with this mentality of this is my day to shine and treat every day like it's the most important day, because in the NFL, you're literally one play away from actually getting your big opportunity, and you want to make the most of it.
Yep. Okay, so I want to get back up here real quick. Jason David said, looked like Yannick was a no-show for the Colts OTAs. Rookie minicamp. That's what was going on. Of course, he's not going to show up. He wasn't a rookie. Okay, that's what just got over with over the weekend. The OTAs don't begin until, I believe, the 24th is when the first date of OTAs begins. So just let you know, there are guys out there that have taken it upon themselves to go out and do practicing amongst each other. That's highly encouraged, but it's not required at all. So it is what it is. Guys, what do you think? Drop it in the comment section. Let me know whether or not in the live comments or after the show, if you're watching this later, drop it in the comment section. We read them. We read these comments. We reply to some of them, so let us know stuff. What are your thoughts, on the injury history, on whether or not it's, something the Colts could actually do something about? Maybe you prepare them a little bit different, work them a little bit different. Different teams take different approaches, right? Just a few years back, they were saying wasn't it Pagano and Grigson flipped their philosophy on a dime, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The first part of the their tenure, they weren't practicing very hard because they wanted to save it for the games. And then about 2/3 of the way through their tenure, they flipped it and was like, we want them practicing as hard as possible, full hits, everything, so that their bodies are ready for it during games, even though it increases the chance of injury during practice. Well, if you look at the Colts, and we look when they have actual pads on. Now, obviously, when they're out there in shells and stuff like that, you're not going to have a lot of popping going on. Okay.
Right.
But when you're in full pads over there in training camp and practice and preseason, there's some popping going on, so, should they practice that hard, or should they ease up a little bit so that they, less chance of getting hurt during their practice?
Yeah. For me, I think, the contact and stuff, that's what helps prepare you for the season. And honestly, I feel like you're going to have to ramp it up, at least in practice and OTAs. You can control that on your own, and to your point, it's much more heavily monitored during the Colts sessions and stuff than it would be during game time session. And you sit there and you think about some of the painful, Julian Blackmon, that was just, shells, it was literally just, he was just stepped wrong and boom, all of a sudden the Achilles popped, so I understand that, yes, those physical practices can cause a problem. Like, maybe like Ryan Kelly last year when he hyperextended his elbow, he was doing his job, but then the running back just come in too hot and it was just a freak thing, So for me, I still feel like you get that timing, you get that realistic game speed, because I'll tell you right now, guys, these padded practices at training camp, they're the real deal. That's why I keep telling you guys, I cannot wait to see it this year, because to sit there and watch some of these guys bang and stuff, it's awesome. But I do agree that I like the physical practices on the padded days, because what is it, like 13 or 14 days, that they have for, it's just a small amount anyhow. So I feel like you need to maximize that opportunity as much as they can.
Well, I am a little bit worried for the training camp and the last days of training camp, because we are going to be holding a joint session like we do every year. We held them with the Browns. We held them. Who was it last year that we held it with?
Panthers,
right? And there's always fights that break out, and it's nuts. But this is the Detroit Lions, okay? These guys are taught to chew kneecaps.
I knew that was right. Pull the knee pads down, fellas. Pull the knee pads down.
All right.
I do have a question, sort of related to this, okay? Because we talk about injuries are going to happen, right?
Mhm.
Is there one position, offense or defense, that really has you nervous as far as if there was an injury, what that would mean?
Ooh, that's a good question. If our edge rushers, if our top 2 edge rushers have injuries, there's a problem. We're
Mhm.
gonna have a bad problem. I mean, Yannick is one guy, and he is vital right now to this organization, to the defense right now, more so than I can even say, because I don't think there's another guy. Look, I love Kwity Paye. I love Dio Odangbo. I love Tyquan Lewis. I support them. They don't have what Yannick has right now. Okay. And what Yannick has right now is the ability to really put pressure on the quarterback and make the secondary's job so much easier. A lot of our defense is going to hinge on Yannick's ability to bring the pressure and take a lot of pressure off of the other guys on the defensive line, right? So that they could do that as well. So much hangs on him. I don't know how in the world he wakes up every morning without going, oh my goodness, the pressure on me, because it is what it is. So that's what I worry about. The edge rushers is if that ends up being a problem in that position group,
Mhm.
we're in for a long season.
See, and I 100% agree with you. But on the offensive side of the ball, I look at the quarterback position, and I'm like, I'm not trying to sit there. I mean, I understand Matt Ryan's been an Iron Man. Matt Ryan has played, 15 years, missed 3 games. I understand all that. But there again, we talked about it earlier in the show. Matt Ryan never put on the blue Colts and the horseshoe. You know what I mean? There's that added bad luck factor that, you've got to prepare for and stuff. And I am a little concerned whenever I look past Matt Ryan as far as what we have in the quarterback spot and if it would have to last for multiple games, 2 or 3 games, where are we going to end up then? And that's a big concern to me, because I really think more I look at this schedule and the more I look at this team, I'm thinking 12 wins is like on the low end of this thing. I honestly believe 12 to 14 wins is a valid hope for this year.
Yep. I do too. Honestly, I'm worried about the tight end position. That was my offensive side of the situation. I'm not really worried about Matt Ryan. I mean, dude's missed 3 games in 14 years. If he gets hurt, then the Colts are just turn the horseshoe upside down if he gets hurt. Okay. That's just the way I see it. But no, the tight end position. What if Mo and if Mo gets hurt, all of a sudden we have the youngest tight end group in the history of football, right? I mean, we have 1 second-year guy and the rest are rookies. I mean, that'd be scary. So that makes me a little bit worried. Jason, David, I do see your comments. We get to them as soon as we see them. You ain't gotta post it multiple times, but I will get to it right now. Deep says if Mo gets hurt, it's Jelani time. Hey, you know what? Great. That I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want to lean on a bunch of rookies at a position group. That's the only thing. I am going to get to Jason David's question right now. We are half an hour in, so it's time to go ahead and start getting any questions that jump in there. He says, Lawrence, Loyalist, do you guys think Bobby O will get a contract extension? I'm going to leave this to Loyalist first.
I hope so. And let me explain why, okay? I think that these two, I think that Darius and Bobby O, if you keep that core group and like with Zaire Franklin and with, some of these UDFAs and stuff that we've brought in this year, I think that we can afford those 2 bigger contracts and still keep that linebacker room together. And like I said, the speed, the range, the ability to both stop the run and play good in pass coverage defense, these two guys, I really believe another year figuring out where each other's at. Darius Leonard getting a little more healthier, Bobby O just getting more familiar, because this will be basically his second year in this role. I think that he's going to prove to be a very valuable piece to what hopefully brings and elevates this defense up to, like we've said repeatedly, a top 3 to 5 defense.
All right, so I'm going to give you 2 answers. The first one is I am almost 100% positive the Colts organization would love to extend Bobby Okereke. I'm going to give you Okereke. Bobby Okereke. However, I'm going to give you this is in all honesty, guys. In all honesty, if I'm going to be truthful with you, I don't think it happens. I honestly don't believe it's going to happen. I think there's going to be want by both sides. I think Bobby will want to be a Colt. I think the Colts would love to sign him. I don't think the Colts are going to have the money to do it.
Yeah.
I think he's at a position at this point where they're going to have to it's a what's that called where you're constantly bringing in new people?
Rollover door.
It's a rollover position right now for the Colts, right? That Mike linebacker is right now for Indy, because of how much money they've already got in Leonard, and other guys on that defense. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those revolving door positions, unless Okereke takes a serious discount to stay. And I mean, is that a possibility? Yes. Is it likely? Probably not. I'd love to see it. I just, in all likelihood, we probably won't have him here for his 5th year. At least that's the way I see it. Not because there is no interest. It's just I don't think there's the money there to do it, to make it happen.
Okay, so you see, and I agree. I understand what you're saying, and like I said, I'm hoping this is where I'm like, okay, that big bump in the salary cap. Maybe if you look at Defoe or Darius and say, hey, what if we restructure this a little bit? I mean, I do believe, to your point, that the Colts will do everything they can, but they also, like you said, Ballard has been really fiscally responsible, and this is sort of that painful part that we talked about last year, going in, where you really want somebody, but it's not always easy to bring them back.
Yeah, you can't keep everybody. Even some of your best, you want to keep your game-changing superstars and guys that are absolutely great at key positions. But when it comes to those second-tier guys in even important positions, but if they're the second-tier guys, you're going to have to get used to seeing them walk. It happened with Indy back during the Peyton Manning days, right? You start seeing guys just walking because you couldn't keep them, right? That's the way it is. Who is it? There was a couple guys on the defense that they had to let go, right?
Danico Autry was one that we couldn't afford to keep.
Afford to keep, but I'm talking. You go back further than that, like Mike Doss, Mike Doss.
Oh, okay.
Anthony, way back in the day, when we had the big time team, back in the early 2000s, you had guys on the team you wanted to keep, right? Yeah. But they just couldn't. You went out, you drafted guys to replace them the year before you knew they were going to be gone, right? And that's exactly what Gerard Powers said. He was drafted to replace someone who was on that team his rookie year. It is what it is. It's how it works. Yeah, Nick Harper. That's exactly this. Yep. There you go, Mr. J567. He knows what I'm saying. Yeah.
And to your point, I remember when Darius Butler was here, and I mean, the Colts organization and fan base loved them, But, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Malik Hooker was brought in and and Darius Butler was just like, he already knew what that meant. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and another example at the linebacker, Jarrell Freeman. Remember when we had Jarrell Freeman? He came here and was a relative unknown that had been a journeyman, balled out. But then the thing was he had gotten to that level where, okay, he was wanting more money and there was people offering him more money, a la Chicago. So we lost him there again, because like you said, as much as we get attached to these guys and stuff, if you're not one of those pillars, if you're not a Quentin Nelson or a DeForest Buckner or a Darius Leonard, it's really hard to sit there and keep guys. And then, like you said, fill out that roster with that quality depth and stuff that we all clamor for so loudly.
But there is a benefit to that. If you're able to draft well and do like what we're saying, and continually replace good people at key positions, those other guys, they're going to different teams, being starters, playing well, and then you get, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round compensatory picks the following year. Every time I say that word, I have to stop and like read it in my mind because it's such a hard word for me to pronounce. Cato June, Larry Brown. Yes, absolutely. I get that is a typo, but it's Cato June. Yeah. That's the reason why he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because we just could not afford to keep him, after he hit that Pro Bowl, and we went to the Super Bowl and all that. So it is what it is. Oh, guys. Oh, so it's Thursday. We will be having our Patreon tonight. It is Patreon only. Patreon members are allowed to watch and or join. It is the invites are sent a half an hour prior to going live. Always goes at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. If you are interested in watching or joining, it also will help us out, by joining, because it's only $5 a month. You feel free, use the link in the description to join Patreon and get that in now. And then here in an hour, when I send out links, you'll get yours, and you won't miss out on these things, including other Patreon exclusives. Like every time Gerard and I have record for Believe in Colts, there's always an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes of extra stuff that's not in the edited cut part. Oh, dude, I have no problem with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. All right. It's compensatory that has me all kind of flambustered. Oh, yeah, David Thornton. Now I think about it, losing him sucked. Yes, absolutely. But I appreciate you, DSG Goodbar. Thanks so much. We are not franchising tagging Bobby. No, there is no way we are going to dude, I am not paying. Look, I love Bobby. He's not worth 15 mil a year, and that's what that would be, for that 1 year. No way.
Yeah, I mean, just for math's sake, I would, and I know this would probably not make the big man happy, but I'd rather franchise tag Big Q, you know what I mean, and then re-sign Bobby O, because that way, Big Q, I mean, because honestly, he's going to set the market at the guard position, whereas if you franchise tag him, you still get that rebate for 1 more year.
A rebate. Yeah. It's only $15 million a year for him.
Hey, that's $5 million saved to go to Bobby O.
Minimum $5 million. Because I have this ugly feeling it'll be over 20 unless Nelson takes a serious discount. He says, no, I think he's worth 10, 11 mil. Possibly. Must pay Bobby 16 mil a year. No. McChicken, then you pay your kicker 16 mil a year. Okay. Now, why don't you do that? All right. You like Nick Folk. Go ahead. Morocco just declined the Eagles. Let's go. You know what? Did you guys see the interview with Morocco Brown that we did? That was great. I had a couple good, interesting questions. But hey, what do you think about this coming up year? What do you mean, Kurt? This coming up year? What about this upcoming year? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what that's talking about. Let me know. Get a little bit more detail about that, please.
Yeah.
He says Nick Folk is a goat. Uh, okay, I thought that was Adam Vinatieri, but whatever.
I'm gonna pull up one real quick here, Lawrence, because true.
Yeah.
He says Edward James, Edrin James. There we go. Sorry about that. I guess that's my compensatory. But Ed James, he sat there and said we had to give up. I'd like to go back a little bit further when we had Marshall Faulk. You know what I mean? And then it was like, no, we had to let Marshall Faulk go and bring in Edge. And then you watch what Marshall did in LA, and it was like, oh man, but then thank goodness Edge came out and just was a massive part of this offense and stuff. So even though it hurts sometimes, guys, the reason I wanted to bring that up is even though it hurts because of Ballard and the scouting group and everything, finding replacements, it's not easy, but they're really efficient at it. So like I said, these guys set their dollar mark. If it doesn't work out, I mean, we've seen it this year with the quarterback position. If it doesn't work out, they will find a solution. So just got to keep the faith, guys.
All right, Kurt Jeffers. He says, I hear we could be a top 5 defense this year. I 100% agree with it. I've talked about it. We got to stay healthy. And everything has to go the way I hope it goes, from the way I see things. But absolutely, as long as, our pass rush can get home, I see us having a top 5 defense overall. I'm talking like top 10 versus the run, and top 10 versus the pass, both, and that's a huge jump considering, we haven't been a top 10 versus the pass in a while, a long while, but we can. It just relies on getting that pressure, from our pass rush. And Yannick is a guy, we've got all these first and second rounders, sitting there on the D-line. We got to get them working this year. So absolutely, I think our defense can be a top 5 this year. Honestly, there's a slim chance I think that they could be one of those. I mean, I'm not saying a big chance, like 0.5% chance that it could be one of those, oh my goodness, type defenses. I mean, we've got 7 Pro Bowlers on the D line, or on not the D line, 7 Pro Bowlers on the D line. It's time to get rid of a couple. On the defense,
that would be some serious backups. Let me tell you.
Right. Everybody's only playing 50% of the snaps. Screw it.
Ballard went from I want to have 8 starters to I want to have 8 Pro Bowlers.
Right.
I did what DSG Goodbar brings up a good point, because we're talking about just next year and some of the people that we have to resign. But, like he says, you got JT and MPJ over the next couple years. You know what I mean? So this is something else that when you're looking at resigning people, I believe you need to look at a 3-year window. You know what I mean? If you're going to sit there and renew somebody, who do you have to pay in the next, not just that year, but the 2 years following? And that's a really good point.
Look, Kurt, if we have more turnovers than sacks, look, I know that we had a lot of turnovers last year. We still had more sacks than turnovers. So, if we have more turnovers than sacks, we'll have the greatest defense in NFL history. Okay. That's just how it'll work. Okay. You do not end up having 40, 50 freaking turnovers in a season. And that's what you need to have to break, the sack mold. So I think we will have more sacks this year. I don't know if the turnovers might come down a couple notches. They'll still go out there and try, but what we did last year was pretty darn impressive. Okay, in turnover wise. So just that's what I'm saying.
Here, Melissa says, I think with the new QB, hopefully we won't buckle under the pressure like we did last year. And the reason I brought that up is because I do believe that, with Matt Ryan at running things and his offense staying on the field more, I think that's also going to be something that helps elevate the defense. Because these guys aren't going to be, how many times do we sit there and go, okay, offense, just put a drive together, let this defense catch their breath. Let's get this thing, so I think part of that buckling was whether it was due to fatigue or just, a plethora of other reasons, just because the offense didn't give the defense chance to recoup.
All right. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of talk about Philip Lindsay, and a lot of people discussing this over and over. And I'm going to put a downer on this. I don't know if you guys have followed my Twitter. I don't think Philip Lindsay makes our 53-man roster. Okay. Mark it down. That's what I said. Okay. Hold me to it. I don't think he does. I think he gets cut. Okay. He's not going to take the position over Hines. Hines is not going to. I don't think that they're going to completely move him to wide receiver. Okay. I think Hines is still our backup running back. I mean, the guy averaged 5 yards a carry last year, running the football. Philip Lindsay last year averaged 2.9 yards a carry running the football. Okay. Granted, it was with Miami and Houston, but still, right? He hasn't had a good year running the football since his sophomore season in the NFL. Ever since then, he's been kind of not good. Okay. This is a last ditch effort for him. And so I see Hines being our number 2, obviously. Number 1 is, that Taylor fella. Number 3, yes, we're going to carry 3 guys on our roster, but that third running back slot is always held out for a special teams guy. Is Philip Lindsay willing to go out and play special teams? Is he good enough in special teams to overcome some of the young guys out there, that running back that we've got sitting there, that we've got like 15 UDFAs, at running back position right now, that are more than willing to go out there like Dion Jackson and play that position? I don't know. I don't think Philip Lindsay makes the team.
Yeah, I do want to point out one little nugget that I found out and I didn't even click for me. Do you know who his offensive line coach was his rookie and sophomore year in Denver?
Strasser?
Yep. Strasser was the line coach. So I do like sitting there and in that zone blocking scheme. Mm-hmm. Maybe that does open up some more windows for him as far as – I'm not saying that he's going to sit there and, run for 1,000 yards, but give him that opportunity to showcase his talents and stuff, and then maybe next year find a place.
The only problem is Lindsay's been hurt the last few years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it. He was on Houston Texans. He could not beat out good Lord. What was it? The former Patriot that's on that team. He couldn't beat him out. Rex Burkhead. Yeah. Couldn't beat out Rex Burkhead. Now, that's no knock on Rex Burkhead. I like the way Rex Burkhead runs the football. He's got that nose to the grindstone, hit hard, never give up type running back, right? I love that style, that old school style of running the football. But Philip couldn't beat him out, okay? And then couldn't even do anything on Miami. And they have an okay offensive line. So that makes me a little bit worried. That's why I don't, I think he's lost a bunch since he's had those injuries. So
yeah, and let's not forget that Dion Jackson, who was our number 3 last year. I mean, this young man was. I mean, they sat there and gave him the max that they could for UDFA. To bring him in, and they really liked what he gave us. And he, at the end of the season, he even got some reps in there. So, like I said, there's a lot of young talent, not to mention the 3 UDFAs that we picked up this year. So once again, training camp competition is going to be awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, Dion Jackson would flip head over heels to be the special teams guy.
I was trying not to do that. He'll give it his all. He may not know where he's going to end up or which end he's going to end up on, but yeah. Sorry, Dion, but that will live in infamy as far as the Colts go. you can blame Hard Knocks for that one, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. DS Goodbar says it is nice to have Taylor as the primary back and Hines being used in a now. Really, I get where you're going with this, but I'm not going to call it the Cordell Patterson role. I'm going to call it the Nyheim Hines role. All right, because Nyheim Hines he's a different style running back than Cordell's a bigger guy. Cordell is a bigger guy than Hines. Hines is a smaller fella. But at the same time, he's very good at receiving. He's very good. He could block. I haven't seen Cordell do a lot of great blocking. Hines, I saw Hines stand a defensive end up, right? I even highlighted that in a Hines video once in one of my film rooms. Hines stood him up. I was like, what? When Hines says, I'm a football player, believe it. Okay? So, yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I agree with you here. He wants camp bodies for training camp, right? Look, I don't know how much Lindsay was signed for. I about bet, though, that he's vet minimum, right? And can you really put a price tag on getting your backups and your backups good experience going up against good players? There's no price tag you could put on that. So think about that. All right. We talk about we want these guys to be ready to come in just in case. Well, the only way to do that is for them to practice against those kind of guys. And your second and third string guys are not practicing against your first string guys. Okay. Your ones are going up against each other's and your twos and threes are going up against twos and threes. That's how it works. So you want your twos and threes to be good on both sides so that they are learning to play well against each other, and that's how I see Lindsay. It is what it is.
I agree completely.
Guys, it's been 52 and a half minutes, and we're going to be ending this here pretty soon, but I do want to say, if you have not yet visited the Backroom Collection, what are you doing? Go check out the Backroom Collection because Defoe said so, right? Defoe said so. And then I ended it. Defoe still says go do it. This channel is proudly sponsored by the Backroom Collection. They do beautiful sports canvas art with football, basketball, baseball, and other sports themes. Special orders are accepted and autograph pieces are available. Many Indianapolis Colts signed pieces will be available beginning in November. Just use your discount code CL10 to purchase the pieces you want to spice up your living area. That's CL10. So I want to thank each and every one of you again for showing up. Please don't forget to smash that like button. We really appreciate that a lot. If you want to check out our Patreon, that'll be live only to Patreon members. Make sure you hit that link down in the description and join Patreon. So much stuff, extra stuff you can go check out. Loyalist, is there anything you want to say before we head out of here?
I just would really like to double down on this Patreon, guys, because I'll tell you right now, I love having these conversations where we're trying to read stuff and everything. But if you really want to get hurt and it doesn't, you don't have to do it on camera if you don't want to, but you're welcome to. But like I said, we take extra time. We get different points of view because, generally we've got anywhere from 6 to 9 people in there. We try to keep it at 6, but hey, if it gets crowded, we'll rotate it out. Like I said, guys, it's a blast. And the thing is that lets us know a little bit more about who you guys are. And then we can get in a little bit deeper instead of trying to fit it all into an hour window. So
absolutely. And with that being said, thanks again. Can't wait for training camp. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Colts Loyalist. And as usual, have a good one.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.
If you live near the Indianapolis area or Indy at all, or plan on visiting Indy this summer, sometime June, July, make sure you go check out Colts.com and keep an eye out for free tickets to go to the training camp. And surely you'll probably meet quite a few of us podcasters out there, whether it's Derek Larger, Cody, myself, Chuck. Most of us generally go out there and get free stuff all the time. Little foam things, footballs being thrown at you. Like right here, I got Kenny Moore's foam football signed. I got Michael Pittman Jr.'s right here, stuff like that. Go check it out. All right. And until next time, hope to see you there. Have a good one.